common data errors, just things to look out for when formatting your data. So one of the common errors is data is not provided in an electronic format. And by electronic format, we mean paper copies, maybe a PDF, basically in something in a format that you cannot edit, you cannot manipulate, or you cannot like successfully transpose into some sort of Excel or text or tabular format. And so this goes back to your laboratory in most cases. And there's a lot of, and if you do get all of your data in a PDF for your physical, chemical, laboratory style data, ask your lab to get it in Excel. 9.9 times out of 10, it can be done. And it'll save you significant amounts of time as opposed to transposing it into an Excel spreadsheet. Other things to look out for is Excel itself. So a couple of examples, leading zeros, monitoring location ID, that's 032, may get changed to 32. Dates and times can be formatted awkwardly. And that's just basic things you run into when you paste plain text or if you're just kind of modifying or formatting in Excel. And these are all things that can cause potential errors upon your import into WQX Web. Another data error to look out for are white space and divider rows. WQX Web expects all of your data to be in a continuous series, so you can't have dividers, blank spaces, white spaces within your file. You can see that sometimes in laboratory data where they'll just split a column header for a different site or a different type of parameter or analysis. An example of what that may look like is something like that where you have an extraneous column header in the middle of your data file. WQX Web is going to try to read that as characteristic name, result value, unit, and it's going to throw an error of saying invalid unit for unit because it's trying to read your column header as actual data. So just look out for that within your data sets. Other things to look out for are analytical methods not being included with physical chemical data. So most all laboratory data has some sort of approved analytical method associated with it. WQX requires that you list that analytical method and the context from the result of a particular activity sample. Now, we can generate translate this in WQX Web for you. It just depends on your format. But an example of an analytical method ID and a context is the number of the process and then the agency that approves or created that process. So, US EPA 120.1. So 120.1 is the analytical method ID. US EPA is the context. Other things, detection conditions and limits with a result value. So what that is, it's just an error in terms of your data entry. So either a result value field or a detection condition field must contain a value, not both. So what that means is if the result is below a detection limit, the result value must be blank and the result detection condition field must contain not detected. Again, this is kind of just a small nuance, but things to look out for whenever you're dealing with non-detects and other blanks of some sort. Lower detection limits, upper detection limits, things like that. And this is particularly pertaining to non-detects. Okay. And then this is so we have a detection condition with limits and result values. So this is just another example of how it should be labeled in the spreadsheet. And you can see that we do have the detection condition limit unit and value populated and not the result measure and unit. And so you can see it's just a different way of labeling your data. So if you do have QA data, non-detects, trip blanks, it is going to be listed slightly different than your regular results. And just remember that, we're going through all these different scenarios and nuances, but we're just talking about the same spreadsheet, the same result tab. So I'm not talking about a different spreadsheet every time when I'm showing these examples, just different areas within the same spreadsheet. Another common error is the values don't match WQX spelling. And this goes for essentially all of the fields, result units, characteristic names, detection conditions. There's a particular WQX schema that needs to be conformed to, and that means particular spelling for things. Luckily, most of the terminology is universal, but there are particular scenarios where a laboratory may not list a characteristic name the same, may not say a detection condition quite the same, or they may abbreviate things. But have no fear, it's really not that big of a deal. We can fix those errors and validate those errors really quickly when the time comes.